I woke up this morning and I was thinking about some little big things that leaders do. Little big things. I first would dedicate that's not my own thought. That is a thought I would dedicate to my very good friend Kola Oshinowo. Kolawole Oshinowo. I think that's one of the trainings he took, and he talked about little big things, um, some big things that leaders end up doing, but those big things are just not big, but they were done in little ways. What are those things that a leader can do just so that after a while it looks like he has done something that is very big, something remarkable, something out of this world? But honestly, those things, those big things, starts from the very minute things, the very little things that we do day in, day out. And one of the little big things that comes to my mind this morning is punctuality. Punctuality as a leader. Most times in organizational leadership, most times we struggle with punctuality with our team, and we forget that people naturally take a cue from what we do or the way we comport ourselves as leaders. This reminds me of a conversation I had with someone. I recall I was working in a building. There's a building that housed my office in Lagos several years ago, and this same building housed the office of arguably one of the richest men in Africa. And so I observed that by 7:30 a.m. this man is in the office when he's not out of town. Because you see him just downstairs as we all are trying to get into the elevator. You also see him trying to make his own way to his own elevator as well. And I recall discussing with one of his security details, who was my friend. I just like to have chats with him, with the guy. So I asked him that, how is it that a guy is here 7:30 a.m. every day? And he said that's been his lifestyle, that he's worked with him. The security detail has worked with him for 20 years, and that he has not changed. Because except if he's not in country, or except if he's not in town, but if he's in town and he's in country, they're going to get up and be in the office before 8 a.m. every day. And this is supposed to be the richest man in Africa. Yet he's in the office early before 8 o'clock every day. And this kept me thinking that as leaders, how do we really build our system? So just with punctuality, he's been able to build a system whereby every other unit leader knows that they must be in the office before him every day, except if he's not in town. So people naturally take a cue from their leaders, because they just would watch you, and they would do what you do. So leaders should do things in such a way that you no longer are struggling. It's no longer a matter of do what I say. It's more of do what I do. So people tend to observe you as a leader, and they just naturally take a cue from what you do. So punctuality would help your team to be consistent. It will help your team to be disciplined, and it will in turn help your team to be very productive. And then it helps the organization to be very productive. Why should leaders be punctual? It's important we just quickly talk about it. Why should leaders be punctual? Leaders should be punctual because they need to set good examples. Because employees and followers often model their behavior after their leader or their manager. So if a manager is always punctual when he's on his desk by quarter to 8 a.m., if resumption time is 8 o'clock, what you find out is that on the average, everybody turns in early and everybody comes to work early just so they are able to work effectively as a team. So a punctual leader encourages a culture of timeliness and accountability. So if a leader is punctual, everybody in the team just will take a cue from that, and it looks little, but it ends up becoming big because your day-to-day character ends up forming your habit, whether as a lead or just as a team member. Punctuality also helps to build trust and credibility in within your team. As a leader, punctuality helps to build trust. When your team members knows that you will always show up, they trust you because you will always show up. You won't leave them in the wind. When you give them a task, you are there to also hold their hand and then to be sure that nothing goes wrong. Even when things goes wrong, you are there to help them so that it does not escalate beyond their control. So punctuality builds trust and credibility in within your team. Being punctual also shows respect to others. If you have a meeting time, take for instance, you've agreed to meet by 9 a.m. And the leader is there by 8:30 seated, everyone also would ensure that they are never late. But a leader that turns in early shows that he has a lot of respect for his team. And we do say that respect is reciprocal. So if you respect your team will also they will accord you that same respect. So, but a leader who doesn't respect time, who doesn't respect commitment, the tendency is that his or her team members would also not respect the individual. So what that means is that if you are not punctual, it shows that, and it says that you do not have respect for your team. So punctuality is very important. It demonstrates respect for others' time and schedule. So if you have a meeting that is scheduled between 9 and 10, it's important to keep your meeting between the time box so that people can also meet with their other schedules. So a leader must be punctual. It is very important. Another value of punctuality to a leader is that it actually also increases productivity. If a leader is punctual, you are able to work on productivity because every of your alignment or every of your plans is aligned to time. Meetings and projects can start as planned once you are punctual. That actually reduces delays and making better use of resources, because time is a very important resource within any project, within any team. Time is an important resource. So as a leader, you must ensure that you manage that resource carefully, you manage it intelligently, and you do your best just to be sure that you are not a time waster as a leader. Time Punctuality also enhances professionalism. If you keep your words, people will take you very seriously. But if you are the type that fixes a meeting and you never turn up as a when agreed, people never will take you seriously. I recall having one of my very respected mentors. He did say, I think he scheduled a meeting sometimes outside the office, and we were about 2 minutes late. We didn't call in, and by the time we got there, he said he won't meet with us. The secretary told us I was around, but he just will not meet with us. I couldn't imagine. I said, Shibi is inside. Say yes, but our time window is over, and that if he starts the meeting 5 minutes late, it would end up eating into other time allocated for other schedule. So that taught me a very big lesson. And from that day, every other meeting that he schedules, even when he gives you a time to call him, and you call 5 minutes later, he doesn't pick your call, because if he's giving you that window, that schedule, you just must respect that timing, just to be sure that you call him as a when planned. So that really taught me a whole lot to be consistent with timing. So if you also give people appointments as a leader, it is important that you are there to just show them some respect by turning in when you are supposed to do that. Uh, it's also important to know that punctuality supports effective decision making. If a leader is available, the leader is able to help take a decision or make a decision as a when due. Leaders who are present and prepared on time can address issues promptly, and then they help to keep the operations running, especially in the place of leadership. But if you see a team or if you find a team whose leader is never around, the tendency is that decisions take a longer time to be made. If you find a team leader who's never around, you find files, resting on his or her table for so long. You find even in this age that we use electronic automation, you find things getting delayed because he's not able to have that consultation with his team before taking decisions. So it's important that we know that turning up in time, keeping to time, being punctual supports effective decision making. And it's also important to say that punctuality helps and it strengthens teams' morale. Employees are more likely to feel valued and motivated when a leader honors commitments and avoid causing unnecessary delays. But if you are a leader who doesn't honor your commitments, who just delays project or you delay execution of ideas or opinions, the tendency is that you have very, very fragile morale, very, very thin morale within your team. So being punctual helps to strengthen morale. It supports effective decision making. It enhances professionalism, improves productivity of a team. It shows respect to others, great respect to others. It also builds trust and credibility. And very importantly, it sets a positive example within your team. So as leaders, it's important that we are punctual. Even if it's an online meeting, be punctual, be logged in before the time, be seated before the time. It shows that you are organized. People can emulate and learn from you. Don't be a disorganized leader who only logs into meetings, 5, 10 minutes after it's supposed to have started. It doesn't really show respect for other members, other team members that look up to you for guidance and for direction. So punctuality is an important leadership quality because it demonstrates respect, reliability, professionalism, and accountability. By being punctual, leaders create a culture of trust and efficiency that contributes to the success of the team and the organization at large. So this is one of the little big things. Like I said, like my friend Kola Oshino once trained, when you pay attention to the little things, the big things just would take shape. Um, Thank you again for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe just as we try to make leadership make sense. Thank you very much.